Welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson, a podcast by dealers for dealers. Here we go.
Hello, welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast. This week, we are going to talk a lot about employees, Luke. But first, before we get into that, I want to just make sure everyone knows how grateful we are for the support of the podcast. Grateful for those that listen, grateful for those that share it with a friend, grateful for those that leave us a review on any of the platforms, really.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciate all the feedback we get. It makes this highly paid job we have worth it, right?
Yeah. It keeps us going. You know, we're going on 170 something episodes. I don't know what this one is, 3 years. So we definitely love your feedback. We love to know what you guys want to hear more of, what you don't want to hear, special guests you'd like us to get on the podcast. So obviously any suggestions are welcome. info@theindependentdealerpodcast.com. So give us your ideas. And again, thank you for supporting us. Luke, we know finding cars are hard right now, but I think finding employees it's right up there, man.
I tell you, being a small business anywhere is hard. Sales are hard. Acquisition of inventory is hard unless you're a franchise store, which is hard right now, or any other, widget store wouldn't be all that hard, I guess. But the biggest challenge that a lot of us face is hiring good employees and retaining good employees. Mm-hmm. And I think since the pandemic, it's gotten harder. I actually read an article this morning and it said 1 in 4 workers is considering quitting their job after all this pandemic stuff. And it just got me thinking, and I've seen this personally. I think we have a really good staff, but we have close to 20 employees, and every day I'm worried that someone's going to walk in and quit. And I've never felt that before. It's a very different scenario than I'm used to, and I'm worried.
Yeah. Well, it's a scary situation. It's hard because you've got people that are key, crucial positions and things like that really can throw a wrench in your system when obviously you guys know how it is. Your heart stops a little bit when an employee kind of corners you and is like, "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" And I'm like, is he quitting? Does he need life help? Does he want education? Does he need a day off? Like, oh man.
The dreaded employee words. Do you have a minute? You're like, oh yeah.
God. So let's talk about that, Luke. Let's get into a couple things. Let's share with us some of the tips that you have for hiring, because that's where it all starts, right? I mean, that's our biggest issue right now is finding people that want to do the job. There's a ton of unemployment. There's a ton of blah, 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 whatever. It's hard to find good people. Any tips or tricks that you're using right now?
It's ABH. Always be hiring. I heard that years ago, and it's really come to fruition. And I think about it over and over again. You've got to always be looking for good qualified help, even if you don't need it, because sometimes you have the right people that are in the wrong seats. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have the wrong people in the wrong seats, right? And sometimes you have the right person in the wrong. There's always something going on. So if you see someone who you believe is talented, you need to talk to them and see if they are looking for a job change, because like I just said, 1 in 4 people are looking for a job change. Well, that can go both ways. That can hurt us or help us. So we've got to identify those people. Always have ads up on Indeed, Facebook, Craigslist, wherever it works in your area and whatever you've had success with, you need to always have ads running so that you can look at resumes. I think you probably look at 10, 15 resumes a month.
It's very true, because just like we're one conversation away, one boss can I chat with you conversation away from needing to replace that person. So they can leave us just as quickly as we can decide, hey, I found a great guy. I'm going to bring him in here and replace so-and-so. And it also, obviously, we're going to talk about this with retention. You don't want your employees to think that their job's unstable and that they could be replaced at any minute. But there is a certain amount of, hey, man, I've got people that want your job, but I like you and you're trained and you're doing great, so I'm going to keep you there. But
yeah,
when employees know that they can be replaced, and we need to remember that as employers too, like they can be replaced. If we get so beholden on them that we're completely dependent and we're too worried to lose them, I think that's when, you get the cart before the horse.
Yeah, there's two things there. And just because you're hiring doesn't mean you have to fire, right?
Right.
When you grow and when you scale, you need more people. And the only way to grow is to hire more people. So if you're thinking, hey, I want to grow, you've got to make sure that your people are scalable, right? So if you're selling 15 cars a month and you've got one salesperson and you want to sell 30, the chances of you getting to 30 with one salesperson is very, very low. It's just it's not going to happen probably. So now somebody's going to say, oh yeah, well I sell 30 and it's just me. Okay, can it be done? Sure, but you're gonna work yourself to death, or you're gonna work that employee to death.
Yeah.
And so you need to make sure that if you are in growth mode, that you are growing, or if you are in stable mode, that if something does happen, you have somebody to come in behind that person. So you got to always keep that in mind. Always be hiring. Always do the things that leads to finding good employees. If you go to your favorite coffee shop every morning and the person behind the counter is dynamic and you can tell that they want to be more than a barista for the rest of their life, you should have a chat with that person. So just always be looking.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. Because I have those situations where I'm somewhere and this, the employee's just blowing me away. Great customer service, very personable, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever done that? I mean, how do you kind of step through that boundary of like, hey, buddy, you want a job?
I think you put it out
carry
there,
a business
right?
card with you with your cell phone number on it. Hey, here's
always.
My cell number. Give me a holler. You want to make more money?
Yeah, always. Just if you think that person's happy with their job, say, hey, I understand that you're happy with your job, but you see yourself doing more than selling shoes or being a barista or waiting tables or being a bartender or whatever it may be. Do you see yourself doing more than that? And that person may say, well, actually, I'm about to graduate from school next year and I'm really looking for a career. And all you say is, I might have the thing for you. There's always ways to engage that conversation, and they may tell you no, right? But 5 years from now, they may say yeah. So I think building those relationships with those people and mentoring some people, that might be an option to, someone who's in those positions, but maybe has that entrepreneur blood, and they see what you're doing and say, hey, you want to just go have a coffee or something like that. And it might lead to things down the road that you wouldn't expect. Somebody told me years ago to always say yes, right? If someone asks something, just say yes. And of course, unless it's not a good thing, but say yes and try to build a relationship, because you never know what's going to happen at the end of it.
Yeah, I like your point about keeping an Indeed and a Facebook ad running. And that's something that I've started to do more recently, is always refresh my Indeed ads and repost them to kind of keep them going and boost them. And on Facebook for some of those basic positions, salesman and receptionist and detailer, and some of those that I'm always kind of looking, because what I found is, recently I was trying to hire a receptionist, Spanish speaking receptionist. And obviously there's a handful of applicants that didn't fit what I was looking for. But now that I'm trying to hire a Spanish speaking salesman, now all of a sudden I've got 4 or 5 people that applied with me last month that are now great qualified candidates to be a Spanish speaking salesman, So once you start building up that database of resumes, it's very easy to go back in there and kind of hit those. Hey, I really like this guy's resume. Let me hit him up this time. Do you want to sell cars instead of just answering phones? So it gives you this huge database to kind of harvest.
Alexa, we're looking to hire a couple of techs right now and whatever, but one thing Alexa did was she started digging through those older resumes that we had gotten, that were either untimely or the people didn't respond to an email, right? And she's reached back out and resent emails. Well, we've gotten 2 great applicants in the last 2 days because she took the initiative, and instead of reposting the job, or I think we already had the job running, but just dug back to what we had and reached back out, and all of a sudden they responded. So you never know. So make sure you keep those resumes. You have a place you can go back and dig through what you have, because you may have already had the right person apply for a position you're looking for.
Yeah. And I have two more tips on that. One is with my receptionist, my salesman, any of my front facing type hiring positions, I've started to respond with, hey, we are doing digital interviews. Please send me a 60-second video of you explaining your resume and your qualifications, right?
Yeah.
A, I want to just weed through these people really quick. B, not a lot of people respond to that, but the ones that do are great. You know, I mean, they're the ones you really want to interview. They're charismatic. They're willing to put themselves on camera. Great, position qualifications for a salesman. Two, the other point I want to make on hiring is I think we have to look at hiring like selling a car. Like we have to look at ourselves as the product. We are trying to sell ourselves. So if you have a resume come in, is the same as if you have an applicant come in for a vehicle. I think we have to be more aggressive. I don't think just responding to them through an email on Indeed or an email on Facebook is enough. I think we have to be calling them. We have to be texting them. We have to be courting them. We have to be selling ourselves. We have to be giving a value prop. We have to be convincing them. And it's really sad. And it's a hard thing to do as an employer because you think, well, I'm offering them a job. They should want to run in here and interview with me right now. No, because if there's someone that you want to hire and you want them there, guess what? 10 other employers want them there too. So I can't tell you how many times we interviewed someone, we loved them, they're great, we offered them the job, and they had 5 other job offers and took something somewhere else. Like those qualified, good candidates, they have multiple offers and they're shopping themselves around to the best employer, just like a car buyer. There's 15 Ford Edges out there. They're looking for the best one at the best price. So you've got to sell your value as to why you're the place, right?
Yeah,
we have to sell ourselves.
And that's the same thing as retention, which we're about to head to. But that's such a great point, Jeff. Sell your business, sell what you have, sell how long you've been there, and what you can do for your future employee. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, and that wraps into your culture. So before we jump into retention, Luke, we're going to interrupt the podcast, give a quick plug to our sponsor, Dealer Reinsurance.
Reinsurance is the best, right?
We talk about it constantly, every single week. Set up your reinsurance company. Things are going to start slowing down. We're going to get into the dog days of summer. You're going to have time to work on your business. I know right now we're all just crazy at the auction, raising our hands like scarecrows. But when you get time and it slows down, set up your reinsurance company.
Reinsurance is the best way and truly probably the only way to build true wealth in the auto industry and selling cars. So front end profits very low right now. You got to make sure you're making up on the back end. So get your reinsurance started. Call Dealer Re. They'll help you out.
Yes, and to that point, when we talk about employee retention, I think what we run into a lot right now, and I think some of these dealers are struggling with this, is when you went from being a 60 car lot and now you're a 16 car lot, right? Because you can't find the cars, you don't have anything out front, and guess what? Your gross has also got cut back. So now you've got 2 employees, 2 salesmen that are looking at this like, hey man, there's not enough cars out there for both of us to sell and make any money. Not to mention if you're a salesman that's paid on gross, now all of a sudden you got no grosses anymore. So obviously having some back end products and some places for your employees to make money, upsells for your employees to make some commission on is going to be helpful. Reinsurance is obviously the way, but let's talk about that from a retention standpoint, Luke. How do you keep good talent at your lot, especially when times are maybe slow and the gross profits aren't there and these guys are looking at it like, man, it's a freaking ghost town out here. We got no cars.
Yeah, this article, it just kind of got me. A couple of things I wanted to point out. 80% of the 26% that said they wanted to leave, Jeff, looking to quit because they were concerned about career advancement. We can understand that, right? Everybody wants to grow. Well, not everybody, but most people want to grow and have a better life for their family, have a better life for themselves. And 72% of those people say that the pandemic caused them to rethink their skill set. And half of those people had sought out new training, which I thought was very interesting. That tells me a lot of your employees are looking to better themselves. And I think that's the first place to start. And if our employees are looking to better themselves, so should we. So I think the ways to fix retention problems, number one is work on culture. We've talked about this over and over again. Culture is why people want to work for you, and culture is why people stay working with you. So, Jeff, what are some things that you would do to work on your culture? If I had to ask you today, what's one thing do you think that's really holding your culture back?
A couple of things, and this is a constant battle. So there's a million different answers, but one thing that we are currently working on is our communication. I think cultures inside of offices can get very damaged when there is a lack of group or mass communication, because what you're doing is you're having 15-minute meetings with 5 different people about the same problem because you're not all on the same page. So I'm encouraging my guys to group text. If there's ever an issue, no matter what it is, it needs to go on the group text, because everyone should be aware of it, even if it doesn't necessarily apply to them, because then we're not having a bunch of different conversations. So I think that helps with a lot of people getting frustrated when they get asked the same question from 5 different people. Also, we had a get together. We went and saw a movie 2 nights ago. I rented out a movie theater. We had an open tab at the concession stand, and we had everyone bring their kids out, and we saw that new Disney movie. So that was a really fun, maybe cost $1,000 max. We had probably 40 people, employees and family there. So that was a great time. Not the best environment because you don't really get to interact with each other, but still, I think something that kind of bonds those employees to you as an employer, saying, hey, we're looking out for you. We're looking out for your family.
I like those. I like those things. The one worry I have with, I think there probably needs to be segments of how you deal with issues, right? I think you and I talked about this, and I know Eric Freeman had this in his, Eric and Marshall had this in their employee handbook a while back, was gossiping, that this could not happen within the office. If you had, if you were caught gossiping with someone else, and then you were brought in, you were discussed, about that. So I think a group chat is interesting. I think it may need to be with managers, and then, there might be.
There's obviously relative groups, but none of that kind of stuff happens in group chats, because no one's going to air out any kind of laundry in a group conversation.
Not yet. Not yet.
This is all basically policy, procedure, customer issues, cars. I think the chatty stuff happens in the offices and by the water cooler and in the break room and things like that. And of course, that's not something that we tolerate here either. But
right. So I think that's a big deal with culture. Setting expectations for everybody. Make sure you're holding every employee accountable to the rules and regulations you have. Don't treat one employee different than the other. Have meetings. Have check-ins with employees. If you can do it monthly, do it monthly. But if it's a quarterly thing, you need to bring an employee in, tell them what they're doing well, tell them what they're not doing well. Make sure you air any grievances you have with that employee to their face, so that they know where they stand and where they stand with you. Make sure that there's a back and forth there, because I promise you, employees have problems with you too. It's not you just having problems with them. So be aware of that. Try to make yourself better, make your whole team better by doing things like that. It goes a long way. Team building, meetings, all these things are good.
Yeah, of course. And everyone will say, obviously your business is only as good as you are. So you set the tone. If the culture in a car lot is bad, it's because the dealer principal is bad. And that's really just the bottom line, 100%. You cannot split it any other way. Look at some of the best, most dynamic owner operators that have the largest employees and staffs. They're pretty dynamic, personable people, or their number one guy is a personable, dynamic, friendly person, and they're essentially the face, or the employee facing face of the company. So it's a hard thing to handle, because I think a lot of us as owner dealers, we are kind of technicians. We know how to buy cars, we know how to sell cars, we maybe know how to fix cars and do these things, but all of a sudden now we're thrust into a HR role, where we have to be able to have sit downs with these employees and talk about their goals and their life and what they're not happy about and what they are happy about. And we should never raise our voice. I had a situation yesterday where I filled at an angry customer. And of course, I'm at the point now where I rarely do that. So when I do, I'm like PTSD. And I kind of told the customer, hey, just bring the car back. I'll give you a check, whatever. So I'm a little irritated. And then I have an interaction with my service writer, and I'm a little short with him. and I felt bad about it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get angry. I was just very short, and I had to go back and apologize, and let him know, hey man, I get it. There were some shortcomings and miscommunications, whatever they were, but you got to repair those things. You've got to be the bigger man always as the boss.
So the next thing I think that's a way to fix, this retention policy is, and this is really developed from the pandemic. We didn't even think about this before, really, but it's offering flexibility between remote work and in-person working. A salesperson, we could make an argument that they could maybe do a little bit of both, right? Mm. Your BDC for sure could work at home, right? Mm-hmm. Your comptroller, collector, some of these people can go back and forth. Now, I don't know that full time at home is what we want as employers. Employees I don't even think want a full time at home. But offer the option, right, and make sure that you're flexible with the ways that your employees want to work. If you've got a good employee, it's better for them to work remotely than quit, is my opinion.
Yes. If you need to be flexible to keep that key person, obviously be flexible, give them some options. And that comes back to your last point of having those interviews often with them to find out where those pain points are. They might not want to tell you, but they're off shopping for another job that is remote because they don't think going remote with you is even an option. Yeah.
And again, it could be, very well could be. Okay. The next thing is, this kind of blew my mind almost, but offer paths for upskilling, training or reskilling, moving them to a different position, and show employees a path to improve in themselves, improving their situation, improving their family. That's what people really want. We may be cynical all day and don't think that an employee wants to get better, wants to make money, but they all do. I mean, truly, everybody wants to make more money. I think, some people may want more time off, but I think in general, people want to make more money. There's ways to do this. We offer training twice a week at our office, right? We also offer ways for employees to go to a 20 group meeting, for ways for employees to go to the conventions. And it may be as simple as, hey, look at your local, technical college, community college, and see if there's something you can pay for a management course, or maybe you have someone who wants to be bilingual. You can pay for those type classes. Always ways to improve your people's skills. For technicians, offer ASC certifications. O'Reilly's, WorldPack, all these places have training that goes on a good bit. Offer to pay for those things. Do everything you can to better your employee, knowledge. That's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, grow them or lose them, right?
Grow them or lose them. And sometimes, especially in this day and age with technicians, you may have to hire someone who has no clue how to work on a car, but is interested in cars, and you may have to train them up. So always be willing to think about ways to do that. If you got the right person, you can train them. You can make them an apprentice. You can move them up. You can get them trained. And next thing you know, you've got a technician who's a star. Our best technician in our shop right now came to me 5 or 6 years ago. Green pea. I mean, love cars, but really hadn't worked in a shop. He's my best tech now. I mean, just really an outstanding young man. And it's great to see, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you can tie to that, to tie raises to those steps. Hey, when you get this, you're going to get this raise. You're going to get this raise as you learn this thing or take this skill. So yeah, you're giving them that path to growth. I think it's very hard with small dealerships like ours. I mean, I've got 12, 13 employees. There's not a lot of upward movement. I mean, if you're a detailer, that's not really a career, but if you can paint the picture of, hey man, you're a detailer and then you're going to become a C-Tech, or hey, you're a detailer and then you're going to become a lot tech or a salesman detailer someday,
A detailer is a career. So let me tell you this. My detailer is going to make crazy money this year.
That's good.
And, so it can be a career, because you can train those people how to do so many different things, and they can sell different options when people come in. Man, I'm telling you, there is a path. But like you said, you may hire somebody to be a front desk person, which I've told this story before. My best salesperson started as a dealership assistant, and now they're, the best salesperson on the planet. So there's always ways.
Yeah. So number 4.
Yeah. Number 4, this is something we've been really struggling with, and that is benefits. So make sure you audit the benefits you're offering right now. And by auditing, I mean, see what you're offering, see what the person down the street is offering, and see if there's a gap, because there probably is. So figure out how to make up that gap. And so the problem we're really having for attracting really top talent is we don't have health insurance. So I've got to really start thinking about how can we get to the point where we can offer health insurance, because I believe that is a big reason I don't have certain people in certain places.
Yeah, definitely. We started our own group policy years and years ago, but it is a big selling point, and we only cover half of their individual premium. So to us, it's not a large bottom line expense, but it's great when you can put in that job offering or when you talk to them, hey, we have health insurance, we have a group policy. And a lot of people really bite on that. The young kids, obviously they're still under their parents' plan. They don't care as much, but when you're looking for those career people, that is a big deal. Dental, you can go sign up with Aflac for fairly cheap. And now you're giving them offerings for, accident and unemployment and whatever kind of benefits those guys offer. So there is a lot of little benefits you can offer. Luke, what are your thoughts on like the fringe benefits? Do you think that it's still a situation where you have to offer, we offer a gym membership and we do food every Friday. Do you think, demo cars, massages, workouts, blah, 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 coaches, all these things. Are those needed or are they helpful? What do you think?
I think every little bit helps. We do all that type of stuff. You get free oil changes. You get once or twice a year, you get a free detail. These are things that they get internal pricing on all their repairs for their cars. There's all kind of little things that if you tie them all together, they actually amount to a lot. And sometimes you need to sit down with your employees and explain to them how much that benefit package actually ties to their job, because some of them don't realize it.
I think you have to remind them very, very often how much those benefits adds to their hourly or effective monthly rate, because they don't calculate it. They just look at, I'm getting paid $14 an hour and this guy wants to pay me $16. I'm going to move. Wait a minute. You forgot about your health insurance and your dental and your food and your car and your demo and your gas and your 2
weeks off or your 3 weeks off a year. It really, it's a big deal that you need them to sign what they're signing up for. Right. So if you offer someone a job, break it all down. You're getting paid this much an hour. This is how much this benefit's worth. This is how much this benefit is worth. Your total package is this. So they actually know what you're getting paid.
What's your opinion on in-house financing an employee on a car?
We do it, and we offer them a rate that someone on the street can't get. Has it bit me before? Yes, it has. But, we still do it. And I don't know that it provides any benefit to the employee other than they're getting a car from you, but I think they're thankful.
I've got a couple currently that have a car payment with me, and I've got a couple X that still have a car payment with me.
Yeah, I do too.
Like you said, does it make them stay? Probably not. Does it make them think twice? Maybe. But again, it's like with my employees, hey, you get one car purchase a month and it's X amount over my cost. And that's kind of my policy here. You can buy one of my cars. We mark it up just a little bit to cover overhead, but you get to do that once a year. So that's another benefit, and we let them, like you said, parts and use the bay. And there's certain benefits you get by being an employee here because you're connected to vehicles and the service center and the repairs and the parts and things like that.
Just make sure they're all defined and that every employee gets it, and that there's a monetary value hooked to it, because that's really in the psyche of someone, that's really what they want to see. How much money is it?
Yeah. And to your last point, Luke, it's very, very hard to know if you're paying your employees the market rate, right? Because when the market goes up, they're going to let you know that they're being underpaid. They're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I'm I got this job offer. It's $3 an hour more. I'm going to have to jump ship. And now all of a sudden you've got to match it or exceed it to keep that employee around. And it doesn't happen the other way around. When the market's coming down, no one comes to you and say, hey man, I'm being overpaid.
I think right now that, people say there's not inflation or there's 2% inflation. I've seen a lot more than that. Especially in the technician line, there has been a real call by one dealership group in our town to hire lube techs. And what they say they're paying a lube tech, I don't understand. I don't understand how they can do it. Apparently they can. So you need to audit that and make sure you don't want that employee coming to you saying they're leaving. You should be proactive and give that employee a raise, because if you have to match somebody else's offer, I got a feeling that employee is going to continue to keep coming back to you, trying to get up. Threatening to leave to do that. And I think that creates a bit of a bad position to be in.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a game plan for getting them there. Hey man, we're going to get you to $25 an hour. Here's how we're going to do it. And if an employee sees that someone else is offering them $5 an hour more, it's much more enticing to jump ship as opposed to being like $2 or $3 an hour more, So as long as you're within a competitive range, obviously common sense would say, hey, they're going to stick with you even if it's a couple dollars cheaper. But if you're drastically under market, you're going to have a really hard time keeping those guys. And that's the worst, when it's the guys you really want to keep. And guess what? It's the guys they really want to hire, So
for sure,
definitely got to have that communication constantly.
Yep. All right. Well, that's all I got, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot to digest. Obviously, we all know that we cannot run these dealerships without our employees, unless you're a single mom and pop operation, and everyone is very jealous of that at times. But once you hire your first guy, you're in it. You've got to have that communication. You've got to start looking yourself as an HR person. So that would probably be the biggest thing to sum this whole conversation up, Luke, is remember, your people are your business. Your culture of your business is a direct reflection of you as the owner of the business. So those are the things you got to keep in check.
Yeah. The last thing, you just triggered something. You are going to have to be HR until you get to a certain point. So maybe you should train yourself. Maybe you should get training in HR. So just always remember, it's not just training your employees, it's training yourself to be better too. Read as much as you can, listen to podcasts, your favorite one, maybe, and learn how to become a better manager, which has been one of my things for the past couple of years. How can I be a better manager? Because being a better manager, I think, will create retention and also hiring.
Awesome. Great time, Luke. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, buddy.
So glad you joined us. Please take a minute to leave us a review and share this podcast with a friend. The Independent Dealer Podcast. Dealers helping dealers.